The Philadelphia Eagles won the first ever NFL regular season game in South America, their week 1 matchup versus the Packers. And for the Falcons, the Kirk Cousins era started off with an unfortunate loss here. But week 2, the Falcons will be flying up to the Eagles to maybe kind of kick that trend there and not go 0-2 and maybe get the first win at the link here. We're going to break down the Falcons-Eagles Monday Night Football matchup here. But before we get into that, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win the game. In the week 1 prediction videos, we nearly got 100 new subscribers. So thank you to everybody that subscribed. But for the week 2 videos, let's see if we can get 100 new subscribers during the entire week 2 prediction videos. So any help is greatly appreciated. And Ryan, I wish I was sitting here talking to you how we beat one Pennsylvania team and we're going to be going up into Pennsylvania and beat the other Pennsylvania team. But man, our offensive line needs to play a lot better here. I know there's going to be a lot of comments about Kirk Cousins' play with the interceptions and everything, and he didn't play great. First game back from an Achilles tear, understandable, and so no reason to panic on his performance. Concerning, though, how Caleb McGarry absolutely got bullied by T.J. Watt. Now, of course, it is T.J. Watt, to be completely fair, but the entire offensive line, I would say the entire offensive line, the majority of the time it was just Caleb McGarry and TJ Watt destroying the team. But Pittsburgh's got a really good defense. Luckily, TJ Watt doesn't play for Philadelphia, but Philadelphia does have a good defense as well. I actually thought they had a good performance against Green Bay, all things considered, with week 1, with the absolute ice rink they were playing on down in Sao Paulo. But I thought they really actually kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm recording a couple days after this on Sunday night, but really just a couple of big explosive plays. But in general, though, I thought they kind of kept Green Bay at bay, for the most part. They got their licks, obviously, but I thought the improved secondary throughout the season is going to play well. I thought the defensive line did a decent job. Especially to stopping Josh Jacobs early on in the game. Now, in the second half, they started to open up some holes, but that's understandable. I'm sure I'm going to be talking a lot in this video with the Falcons side of it as well. But so I'll throw it over to you. What do you think of the Eagles' performance, and then what do you think of the Falcons as well in their Week 1 matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles pose a different type of pass rush that the Falcons may be a little bit better at handling, and that is they have the Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter show in the middle there where they kind of collapse the pocket from the top, which if you're a quarterback like Kirk Cousins could be a really bad thing. And they do have a good rotation of edge rushers starting out with Josh Sweat. Nolan Smith coming into his second year kind of gets in there as well. Bryce Huff was a little bit quiet on Friday night, but all in all, like they have a really good rotation of pass rushers kind of circling around the two big guys in the middle. So it'll be really interesting to see if Atlanta is able to combat that differently than they were TJ Watt. And so I think this will be a fun matchup. I'm very excited to see the secondary against the Falcons receivers. And I'm going to throw Kyle Pitts in there because he's basically a big slot receiver type. So Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and then you throw Bijan Robinson in there. And I'm really curious to see what that group is able to do against what is supposed to be a younger secondary with Quinion Mitchell. Cooper DeJean got some snaps on Friday night, and I know they still have Darius Slay and some older guys in there as well. But it's going to be a fun matchup. Kind of looking at the Falcons, I think it's hard to judge a performance like that on Kirk Cousins, just because it is first game back from a torn Achilles. His offensive line really did him no favors, and it was just a bad, kind of just a rough day for the Falcons.
Yeah, it was just a rough day overall, well, especially in the second half too. It just seemed like it was like the defensive game plan was, hey, TJ Watt, pin your ears back and just absolutely go after Caleb McGarry.
Yeah.
But even to so I agree with you. I thought Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter as well going to keep on improving, and they're going to only keep getting better here as they're super young, and that's what's going to be crazy about this Eagles defensive interior, and that's going to be a matchup I'm going to be concerned about as well. That I'll break down here in a second. But I will say, if you do like to put a couple bucks down on this Monday Night Football game, or like the Falcons or the Eagles in general, check out the link down below. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players here that you're not going to want to miss. And odds are going to fluctuate throughout the entire week. But I would be shocked if the Eagles are not at least 3.5, 4-point favorites here, because I know everybody in the NFL is going to watch that offensive line performance. And I know I'm picking on Caleb McGarry, but so to your point, though, what concerns me with the Falcons here as well is they do have Drew Dahlman at center. And there's a couple of times he got blown up as well, and the pocket collapsed from the inside. And Kirk Cousins, even before the Achilles, wasn't the most mobile of QBs. And so if Drew Dahlman's not able to hold his own, and if he's not able to get help from Chris Lindstrom, and shoot, I can't believe I'm blanking on the left guard. Matthew Bergeron. Yeah. If they're not able to have a good performance, then it's going to be a really long night, I feel, for Atlanta, because this Eagles secondary is only going to keep getting better. And Falcons really only have Drake London. That being said, I was impressed with Ray McLeod and his overall development. I think, too, kind of looking at it right now, he was a leading receiver with 4 catches for 52 yards. He had 7 targets. Bijan had 5 catches for 43, 5 targets. Pitts went 3 for 3 for 26 yards. Darnell Mooney only had 1 catch, 3 targets. Drake London only had 2 catches for 3 targets. Both those guys had 15 yards apiece. And so that's going to be I think the thing for me is in the Zach Robinson kind of motion offense, where there's a lot of free-flowing guys and multiple options to choose from. Kirk Cousins doesn't have time in the pocket to kind of go through his reads and have guys get open, or guys can't get open. Then it's going to be tough on Monday night against this Eagles defense, because I think Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter are going to be having their ears pinned back as well. And I'm not even talking about I'm blanking on some of the edge rushers right now for the Eagles. I know Hassan Reddick didn't play, but Bryce Huff, I think, was in and out of line.
Hassan Reddick is on the Jets, and then they traded for Bryce Huff. Josh Sweat is another one.
Hassan Reddick's the one. He is holding out against the Jets, right?
Yeah.
That's it. My apologies. And so that's what's going to be – that, to me, is going to be the matchup, is the interiors of the lines here. And also, Caleb McGarry's got to play a hell of a lot better. I do think on the defensive side, I'm just going to be curious to see how this Eagles offense does against the Falcons defense. I thought the Falcons defense did a decent job. What concerns me, though, is the Eagles are going to be a heavy dose of running between Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. And that's what we saw a lot today against Najee Harris and then Justin Fields. So it's going to be that we saw like the Aldi's version today of what the Eagles are going to be able to provide, I think, on Monday night.
Hey, don't
no
hate
offense
on
to Justin Fields or Najee Harris or to Aldi's.
Yeah. I was gonna say, don't hate on Aldi's. I get my groceries in there because it's a
they get catching some trays over here.
But no, and like that's what I was gonna say is, like, we've talked a lot about the Falcons offense and how they match up with the Eagles defense, but I wanted to kind of get into the Falcons defense against the Eagles offense, and I think what we saw today, Najee Harris had a good day. Justin Fields had a good day on the ground. And he had a good day, I think, throwing to George Pickens. But with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, how do the Falcons address and attack those like those players? Because looking at today, you kind of, I don't know, the Aldi's version sounds bad, but like you're exactly right. Like that is George Pickens,
George
Jefferson.
George Pickens
and Pat Freiermuth is like, they're all like just a slightly lesser version of the guy that the Eagles have.
Well, and George Pickens had 6 catches, 85 yards. Pat Freiermuth had 4 catches for 27 yards, and then that was it. Jaylen Warren was the next guy at 2 catches.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like it cracks me up too when like I was watching the 4:00 games and then they're doing a halftime highlights and then they show the ticker of like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, like Pittsburgh wins, and they show Justin Fields' face and his stats. Be like, Justin Fields did not win the Steelers the game today. It was TJ Watt. And if the Eagles are able to provide that same amount of pressure, then it's going to be a long night for the Falcons. That being said, though, if they're able to combat that, and if the Falcons are able to somewhat contain this Eagles offense, and hopefully maybe the Fields definitely going to be in better condition than what it was, which also is kind of scary too. So maybe the Eagles have an even better offensive performance. But I think, too, it's still being early on in the season. I'll chalk some of this up for the Falcons being kind of week 1 with new head coach, offensive coordinator, new quarterback, new system. while the Eagles, it was really kind of the same. Well, there's a new Kellen Moore system, but still the same core group of guys as well. Then you had Saquon Barkley, and they had a great performance as well. So I do think it's going to be a defensive game. That being said, though, kind of going to my prediction, I think it's going to be a defensive game up until the late third or early fourth. And then the Eagles, I think, are going to take off and probably win by about 2 touchdowns. I do think it's going to be something like I'll say like 24-10.
Yeah, and so I was gonna. I thought this would be a closer game looking at this like a week ago, but I think I am gonna lean towards Philadelphia in just the sense that I think Green Bay was a really good team and Philadelphia just kind of outclassed them. They just made. I think they had 3 or 4 turnovers that really kept Green Bay in the game. And so coming into this week, Nick Sirianni is going to be preaching like taking care of the football, making smart risks. They're taking smart risks with it. And I feel like the Falcons probably won't have nearly as many opportunities to create turnovers as Green Bay did. And I think that is the only way that the Falcons can really stay in this game is by creating turnover and creating havoc.
The biggest thing I will say is just the Falcons' offensive line plays the way that they did today.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long season in general. I'm confident they'll pick it up eventually. I think though it's going to take a couple of weeks here, and this also to be fair, like not to come off as like super doom and gloom on the Falcons season. It is just week 1. It's a long season, but this is by far the toughest stretch for the Falcons. Is like. They had the Steelers game, which I was more worried about, I think, than you were going to that game.
I was not super high on the Steelers. Yeah,
that's fair.
I still am not. But
they go Steelers, Eagles, Chiefs. That's a really tough stretch here. Outside of that, though, they have the division. I think is still pretty soft, and they have one of the softer schedules in the league here. So we can get through the stretch and just show improvement, even if we do go 0-2 or 0-3. I wouldn't be super concerned overall throughout the whole season because it's still a long, long season. So, but this game, though, I think it's just going to be tough on the road, Monday Night Football. I just want to see more just overall improvement of that offensive line. Like you can put an asterisk on it because it is T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt does that to a lot of right tackles. It's not fair to just put out Caleb McGarry. However, they kept showing Caleb McGarry getting burned by him.
So it's like all game.
The second half was a joke. And so it's what it is. TJ Watt, future Hall of Famer for a reason. Caleb McGarry, not. But I still like Caleb McGarry. You just need better performance from him.
Yeah.
Outside of that.
Yeah. And I also will say it's a first game in a totally new offensive scheme for a lot of these guys. So it's going to take some adjustment, but let's go ahead. We'll wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And while you're at it, leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Atlanta Falcons? Will it be the Philadelphia Eagles? And that we'll see you guys next time.